Right now, on To The Point, the manhunt for a mass shooter. At least 18 people dead in Maine.
When I turned around, I saw the shooter right behind me. He had just come in the door.
Local fathers losing their sons to gun violence, how they're turning tragedy into change. And tensions high over the Israel-Hamas war. Tonight, a sign of civility.
It was really one of the most powerful moments of my mayorship.
Good evening. This is To The Point. I'm Becca Hobbiger. Alex Bell has the night off. We start with breaking news in Maine. A manhunt continues after at least 18 people were killed and many others were hurt last night. A U.S. Army reservist is believed to have shot them. Right now, police have a home surrounded in an area not far from where these shootings happened, but it's not known if the person investigators believe is responsible for the shootings is inside this home. Now, the shootings happened last night in Lewiston. That's Maine's second largest city. There are at least two shooting scenes, including a bowling alley. Experts describing this as the worst case scenario involving a highly skilled gunman with a history of mental illness. Tonight, one mother and their daughter witnessing the shooting in the bowling alley described people hiding past the lanes where mechanics are located. Many left wondering if they would make it out of there alive.
When I turned around, I saw the shooter right behind me. He had just come in the door. We barricaded in there, and another parent was in the room with me. She had a phone. She called 911.
Tonight, our Zach Blanchard from our sister station in Maine has more on what's happened over the past 24 hours.
It all started around 6:56 Wednesday night when police received reports of a shooting at Spare Time Recreation Bowling Alley. Then just minutes later at 7:08 p.m., dispatchers received 911 calls about a shooter at Shemengi's Bar and Grill 4 miles away. Video showed people running from the scenes. Less than an hour later at 8:06, police released this photo of the shooter from surveillance footage, walking into Spare Time with an assault rifle. Later, sharing this picture of a white Subaru they believe he was driving. At 8:09, nearby Bates College was placed on lockdown. After that, Auburn and Lewiston residents were ordered to shelter in place around 8:30 as hundreds of officers started a manhunt. Meantime, loved ones of the victims gathered outside of Central Maine Medical Center.
Friends are here, we're all waiting, and we've heard nothing. They won't tell us if he's alive, if he's in critical condition, if he's passed. They won't tell us anything.
At 9:26, police got a call identifying the shooter as 40-year-old Robert Card of Bowdoin. At 9:56, officers were notified they found the white Subaru belonging to Card at a boat launch in Lisbon, but not him. Then at 11:52, Lisbon residents were ordered to shelter in place. Police holding a press conference warning the public of the danger.
I think we're all in shock. I think us as a community are.
And tonight, people in parts of Maine are still being told to stay in their homes. Schools and businesses also remain closed. According to the Gun Violence Archive, this is the 565th mass shooting in the U.S. this year alone. In other news, a man shot by a San Joaquin County deputy after he stabbed a canine officer has died. This happened in Stockton. The sheriff's office says the man was in a parked car, got out of the car, stabbed the canine 3 times, and then a deputy shot him. The man died in the hospital. The canine is expected to be okay. The IRS and Homeland Security raided grocery stores owned by Sacramento City Councilman Sean Laloe, shutting them down for hours today. The city council member owns several Viva supermarkets. The IRS tells us this is an authorized criminal enforcement investigation and would not confirm if any arrests were made. A Stockton City Councilwoman is condemning Stockton City Manager. She alleges Harry Black, seen here, has a pattern of, quote, unprofessional behavior. City Council members have discussed disciplining him or even dismissing him. In a 2-page letter sent to us, Stockton City Councilwoman Michelle Padilla claims Black made, quote, disparaging and vulgar remarks about a woman. And what is even more troubling is the prevalence of bullying, hostility, and retaliation within City Hall, which I have personally experienced. This leaves me wondering how many other female employees may be enduring a similarly intimidating and hostile work environment under his leadership. Black declined to comment on the allegations. And tonight, in the Israel-Hamas war, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is growing. Many hospitals are running out of fuel. The Hamas-run Ministry of Health says more than 7,000 Palestinians have now been killed in the war. The IDF says there are now more than 220 confirmed hostages in Gaza. The Biden administration says 10 Americans are still unaccounted for. Tensions are high in the U.S. People with loved ones and connections on one side of the conflict can have strongly held views that are vastly different than those of even their neighbor. We're not going to dive into all of that here, but we do want to highlight a moment of civility and humanity, where even among strong disagreement, mutual respect and listening can go a long way.
I've asked again for solidarity from this council for the Arab and Muslim communities.
At Tuesday's meeting of the Sacramento City Council, a group of local Palestinian Americans and their allies voiced concerns and frustration to their elected leaders about the thousands of Palestinian civilians being killed in Gaza as part of Israel's response to the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel. Makiz Sawez, an Afghan American and Muslim, was among the speakers. She, Amira Saka, and Haya Akkad, who also spoke at the meeting, met me in Midtown to talk about what happened next when two people not affiliated with their group got up to speak.
The first one had said something anti-Semitic. Mayor had shut him down, and we also from the crowd had asked him to please sit down, and what he was saying was anti-Semitic.
We don't have problem with Jews.
That is anti-Semitism.
That ain't no
The second person that went up there called him a racist, and that was just uncalled for.
Unlike the Palestinian American group, this speaker used profanity and a personal attack while addressing Mayor Darrell Steinberg, who is Jewish.
My only conclusion is that you're just racist as
Moments later, you can see members of the Palestinian American group getting up to leave.
We, in protest of that person saying what they were saying, got up and we started to leave.
We didn't want that type of representation associated with us because it was very disrespectful. We're not there to disrespect anybody.
It goes against our message. You know, we're there to, spread awareness and push for humanitarian aid, and they're going at him and calling him a racist. Like, it's just not okay, and we will never stand for that.
Steinberg urged them to stay.
Please stay. Don't go. Don't let that take you out.
The group returned, and Steinberg addressed them as the meeting wrapped up 10 minutes later.
When you started leaving the chambers, when someone was attacking me for accusing me of being a racist, your actions moved me. We may have different points of view, but there is more that binds us than divides us. And I want to say to you that I recognize your humanity. I condemn the deaths of all innocent people, including the Palestinian people.
We were very moved by it, and even after the meeting, after we adjourned, we had about 10 to 15 minutes maybe with him, and it was really appreciated that he took the time to come and speak to us and make us feel acknowledged and that we didn't come down there for nothing.
I spoke about it with the mayor the next day.
It was really one of the most powerful moments of my mayorship.
Mayor Steinberg says he believes, quote, what they did is a model for how we might find a better way as people, as Sacramentans, as Americans, as people with strongly held beliefs, how we might listen better to each other, even while we disagree. Next, on To the Point, local fathers losing their sons to gun violence.
We still felt we should have been there to take that bullet, and we would have taken 1,000,000 times.
How they're turning tragedy into change.
Overnight lows hitting those mid to low 40s, a few upper 30s out there. How cold we're expected to get tonight.
And why Governor Newsom is making recess mandatory. The first signs of winter are starting to appear. Can you believe it? This is video from Palisades, Tahoe. The ski resort received 2 inches of snow yesterday. Ski resorts are opening around Thanksgiving holiday as long as there is enough snow. And meteorologist Carly Gomez is tracking several changes in the forecast. Carly?
Yeah, we're still waiting for a lot of that peak fall color to still set in. And now we're talking snowfall. And in fact, this system actually overperformed for a lot of places. The Central Sierra Snow Lab in Soda Springs saying, hey, we got almost 4 inches. We're expecting 1 to 2, maybe possibly 3. So they definitely got a lot. The peaks here in that blue, 6 inches. Right around that darker, kind of lighter blue shade there, they got up to about 4 inches. So we got some nice dusting and a little more than that for a lot of areas of the Sierra yesterday. Current temperatures sitting in these mid to low 60s now, with Elk Grove at 61, 68 in Fairfield. And as that sun is setting, We are seeing temperatures dropping quickly out there, so get ready and bundle up. We'll see cold temperatures overnight in the low 40s and a few upper 30s out there. Patchy fog is still expected tomorrow morning, as we saw it this morning as well. As we get to about 5 a.m., starting to develop over farmland, moving and stretching up into areas of the valley, 7 miles in visibility in Sacramento. So while you can still see out there, just take it nice and slow still. We are looking at better visibility there, closer to about mid-morning, 9, 10 a.m. or so, as everything starts to lift. Now, as we move into Saturday, we are looking at a fire weather watch. This takes effect early Saturday morning until Sunday, 5 p.m. Strong winds coming in out of the north, causing fire concerns, dry conditions with humidity levels about 10 to 20%. Winds will be anywhere from about 25 to 35 miles per hour. We are expecting strong wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour and even stronger gusts over that Sierra Hills. We'll see winds coming in out of the northeast and into coastal range, also seeing very strong winds. Expect highs in those foothills right around those mid-60s tomorrow and upper 60 there in Ione. And then we'll see the 10-day forecast with temperatures in the mid-60s Friday. Will continue with the upper 60s and low 70s through next week.
Looks like a good evening for Halloween. Thanks, Carly. Next on To the Point, our conversation with local fathers losing their sons to gun violence. And there's been a dramatic drop in gas prices. Some say they're about to get even cheaper. It's a sad truth that we cover a lot of gun violence here in the local news, but what we usually don't see is what happens a week, a month, or even years after loved ones have died. Our Jeannie Nguyen recently sat down with 3 Sacramento area fathers who lost their sons to gun violence. Tonight, they discuss how they've come together to try to turn their tragedies into something impactful.
A rising football star, 19-year-old Destin Garrett.
My son was on his way somewhere. We know that for a fact because he was good in sports. And I really wanted to see my son in college.
20-year-old Jacob Lopez, an aspiring rapper and young father.
He was a young man with a bright future. His music was taken in places.
And 18-year-old Billy Scott III, who was just days away from graduating at Grant Union High School.
He had been striving so hard to graduate because he knew that was something that I wanted from him so bad.
We lost our son. He was loving, caring, thoughtful.
You know, you might not be walking across the stage, but I know you're walking higher now.
How do you guys feel right now being in the same room together and all of you having something in common?
It's important to be around people that went through the same thing you did, you know, because that's where the healing starts at.
To be with other gentlemen that's experiencing the same pain that you are, it helps it.
In 2016, Destin Garrett, known as Nutter to his family and friends, was shot and killed in his home.
My son was murdered by somebody that we pretty much raised in our house, you know. When he met Nutter, Nutter was only in the 4th grade.
In 2022, Jacob Lopez was shot and killed just steps from his Citrus Heights apartment complex.
At the time, he had his fiance inside the apartment, and he had his 4-month-old baby boy and his 2.5-year-old baby boy that saw his daddy die on the floor.
And just this past May, Billy Scott was shot and killed inside a car in a North Highlands neighborhood.
I had 3 boys. I lost all 3 of my boys to this violence, to guns. And it's really hard to live with.
Talk to me about what it means to be a dad through this tragedy.
Naturally, as fathers, we consider ourselves protectors.
Right.
Whether we had anything to do directly with the death or not, we still felt we should have been there to take that bullet. And we would have taken it 1,000,000 times. So that's something that's built into us as fathers.
To be that father that he needed, that father that showed him the real way to live and how to be a man, I put a lot of effort in that. And it made me feel real good in areas in my life that I didn't know how. I didn't learn when I was younger and had my other 2 boys.
We can't be with our kids 24 and some more. You know, and that's what I had to learn. We can't be with our kids 24 and some more.
How have you guys found strength? What do you guys do to support one another?
Well, it's in my plans to open up a men's father group
that's going through healing that need to heal on it. That's needed just like the mother's going through it, or the dad's going through it too.
Unless you've been through it, unless you've actually been through it, you'll never understand it. And hopefully no one will ever have to understand our pains. It's absolutely life-changing.
We don't know exactly what we need in order to help us cope and to deal with it until we do get involved, until we do meet people that has experienced the same thing that we have. Then you realize your purpose, you know, and what you can do and what you can contribute to stopping the violence.
What's your call out to the community? Because we are all community members, right? What's your message to the community right now? And even to lawmakers?
You got to know where your kids is going, you know, and who they're involved with and who they're hanging around with. And that's where we're gonna be able to stop this at, when we get the parents involved.
We were growing up, right? It was drugs and stuff. For me, it was drugs growing up, right? Now it's violence.
Right.
You know, it's a little different, and it's going to take the mental health and the politicians to really look at this and listen to us when we say that we need to get some more mentoring groups, more youth groups, get people involved in these young people's lives. Because if not, nothing's going to change.
Sacramento police data shows in 2022, the department recorded 371 reports of shootings and 93 people shot. So far in 2023, the department recorded 327 shooting reports and 86 people shot.
Do you guys have faith things will get better? Or do you guys believe that, unfortunately, you're gonna have more brothers to join you?
I pray that things get better, but unfortunately, I think we're gonna see more brothers like this. Because the way signs of the time is now, I mean, I got faith.
You gotta keep the faith.
Got to keep the faith, but I'm just looking at what's going on every day.
Yeah.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
So let's talk solutions. Just yesterday, the city of Sacramento announced a dramatic drop in violent crime over the past year. They credit their new, more targeted approach that includes millions of dollars in funding for community-based organizations that help at-risk youth. The Department of Justice also awarded the city a 3-year grant to improve the police department's crime prevention strategies. In your price points, gas prices are going down. Just a few weeks ago, some people were paying more than $6 a gallon for gas. Now the average in Sacramento was around $5.20 a gallon. Gas Buddy analysts say prices are expected to fall even more.
It's possible that in the next week or so, we could get close to falling under $5 a gallon. That probably will take maybe 10 days or so. But it's been a dramatic turnaround. And in this instance, very rare, but gas prices have been falling just as fast as they went up.
Prices began to fall after the entire state made that switch to the winter blend of gas early. Governor Newsom is making recess mandatory. He signed a bill into law guaranteeing 30-minute playtime for elementary and middle school students with few exceptions. As our Bridget Biorlo explains, the change is meant to improve classroom performance and close equity gaps.
Supporters of Senate Bill 291 say recess is critical to a child's social and emotional development. And unique about this particular bill is that schools can no longer take recess away as a form of punishment.
There's so many benefits from recess during the school day.
A new California bill to make outdoor playtime a permanent part of the school experience. Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 291 into law last week, requiring at least 30 minutes of recess for all students kindergarten through 8th grade.
That time at recess on the playground with your peers is really important for the kinds of development that we all take for granted.
State Senator Josh Newman brought the first education bill of the year to the floor in February and says the changes come at a much needed time.
The isolation that was so central to the pandemic experience was really impactful on kids and not in a good way. So everything that we do to bring them back, at an accelerated rate to normalcy, it's all to the good.
And unlike bills in other states that give guidance on recess, this law considers equity in education, preventing schools from withholding recess as a means of discipline.
Those are the kids who need recess the most, right? The ones who have a little too much energy in class, we're having trouble kind of getting along with their peers. That's actually all the studies show that's where recess is so important.
Research also shows that taking a break from the classroom with some physical activity can lead to better classroom performance with improved focus, memory, and behavior.
We know that when kids play on a Playworks playground, they go back to class focused and ready to learn.
Reasons why the bill passed with unanimous support earlier this month.
The new law takes effect in 2024, so schools have some time to prepare. And the only time that recess can be withheld from a student under this new law is if the child is threatened or other children are threatened on the playground.
Next on To the Point, the Kings home opener is tomorrow night. In just about 24 hours from now, the Kings will play their first home game of the season. Make sure you join us throughout the day for all things Kings right here on ABC 10. Have a great night.
Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.